I'm seeing a lot of, and it's backwards for me, and I imagine it's backwards for you. I'm seeing a lot of like MLB Pipeline, the Baseball Americas of the world. Hey, we had Ray Kerr ranked X, and Rozier was a was an up and comer. I'm the opposite. I like have
big time.
Rozier ranked, and Kerr was just kind of a guy to watch. I mean, I see a Kerr 27-year-old left-hander, former starter, picked up off the scrap heap literally. A couple of years back, throws hard. He's an easy 94 to 98, touches triple digits, decent slider when he throws strikes. He's pretty tough out of the pen. And they just added him to the 40 man because, that's a guy that might be able to help you in spots, pretty much starting right now.
And I mean, he clearly had value. If you don't add him to the 40 man, you don't make the Frazier deal.
Right. So they obviously made good choices there. Rozier being a guy they just drafted, outfielder, really interesting cat. Overall, I thought it was a steal to get even though you're only getting 1 year of Adam Frazier, and he's not a great player, but he's a solid player. He's a guy that can play for you pretty much every day, whether you move him around or he's just your second baseman. What did you think of the cost? The depth in the system with outfielders probably makes Rozier an easy guy to kind of say goodbye to, in that scenario. But overall, what do you think of the deal for Adam Frazier in a vacuum, so to speak?
Yeah, I thought the proactive nature of the deal was perfect. I think those are the types of deals you have to make. I thought Jerry really summed it up nicely. I mean, you're adding a player in Frazier who will contribute to your team. You figure out the position later, but you gave up almost nothing for him. And I mean, I just think he's an excellent insurance policy if things don't go your way in free agency. I totally agree with you, though. I had Rozier, the number 20 prospect in the organization. I think he's toolsy. He can run. He's got a little bit of pop. I think he's a good little player, but he's going to be 23 next year. He hasn't played at high A. I mean, he's got a long way to go, and especially in this organization, outfielders are a dime a dozen. And then Kerr, I had him 28 to 32. He's more of a lottery ticket for me with his age, with his velocity, with his 30 grade command. I mean, you kind of see what happens with him and hope for the best for Kerr.
And even if he's good, he's still a reliever.
If you're giving up a reliever for 1 year of even a league average second baseman, you've got more value.
Right. And obviously the advantage Frazier has projecting forward, even if he doesn't repeat what amounts to a career year from this past year in 2021 for Frazier, was a 4-1 player. He's still a guy who represents a massive upgrade over what Seattle threw out there at second base, even if you include the time that Toro spent at second base. I mean, he had a nice start. He slowed down a little bit late, and he did improve that spot. But overall, you project, whatever a reasonable expectation for Adam Frazier is offensively and defensively. It's still a pretty massive upgrade, even though it's not the upgrade that Mariners fans wanted to see.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, Abraham Toro's defense was going to come up into question in 2022. This essentially eliminates that. Double plus defender at second base is Frazier. Puts the ball in play. In a lot of ways, he's just, he's a second base version of JP Crawford, a little bit more speed. So having two JP Crawfords in the lineup does make me a little bit nervous, but you can't argue that the team isn't better today than they were, last week.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's something that I thought about on my way home today. Essentially at this point, because there hasn't been a lot of movement yet, you add Adam Frazier, and when you just look at the lineup, the Mariners essentially have replaced Kyle Seager with Adam Frazier. Now, if you just look at it offensively, even, and you use last year as an indicator. Now, full disclosure, in 2018, Adam Frazier put up a 116 WRC plus. He was 277, 342, 456. It's a pretty good year in 113 games. And he was a 114 WRC plus this past year. In 2019, he was a 97. In 2017, he was a 97. So whether he can repeat last year or he's more like average, right around 100, which is where Seager was last year, he still represents an upgrade. He's a better defensive second baseman. There's more value to having at least an average second baseman. He's probably above average there. The Mariners are incrementally better today than they were at the end of the season, which is a weird thing to say because, and I know a lot of fans out there are going to be like, what about all the home runs and the RBI? Well, we have ways to measure things like on base percentage. And when you're Adam Frazier and you walk into town at what, 30 years old, or almost 30 years old, with a career 344 on base percentage, and what was Seager going to give you? Like, we saw that trend going down. Frazier's, holding steady, looks like he's in his prime. That's just kind of the way I see that, from the Frazier standpoint, from where the Mariners are today versus where they were at the end of the season. They're at least a little bit better. And I think, considering the cost that we just talked about, it's certainly a pretty good deal. And there's a lot of things you can